we've been delivering what was occupational health and safety and then became work health and safety for many, many years. And I guess in that time we've put through thousands of learners. Looking at the latest qualification, the 19 qualifications, and in particular looking at the Certificate 4, I wonder how tough is that qualification for somebody to do?
Well, we find that most people that have been in the workplace in the last 10 years have a lot of experience in those practical activities that sit behind work health and safety, especially when they come from an industrial environment. They're living it day to day. One of the big challenges that they do find is making those ties between those practical activities that they're doing day to day and the legislative requirements that sit behind it.
So when we look at this Certificate 4 qualification, what do we actually teach in the qualification?
We teach, it all boils down to the acts, the regulations, the codes of practice that sit behind the WHS regulations and the Australian, New Zealand and international standards.
So if you stand back and take a look at that course, what would you say is the toughest part of the course for a learner to do?
Really, the toughest part is getting your head around those legislative requirements. When you read any acts of parliament or any of those regulations, it's very much a legalese. One of the things that we try and do is tie in those legislative requirements to those day-to-day practical activities.
Yeah, you see, I often hear from people that are interested in doing the course, things like, I'm worried about the legislation of the course because I have never done any studies of a legal nature. I mean, how do we deal with that for somebody?
Well, there's a lot of underpinning knowledge in the course. We start out by actually introducing the legislation and the standards to each of the learners that are in the course, and going through and researching some of those requirements around some of the basic things that we need to have in the workplace. For example, looking at the provision of first aid, the provision of training in the workplace, and then notifying the regulator of notifiable incidents. We use those as a case study and we go through and show them how to research the legislation and find the things, and they can apply that to any workplace from then on in.
I've found over these years, Neil, that there are people from many different walks of life wanting to enrol in work health and safety. And one of the things that I get asked is, what level of education do I need to have done at a schooling level to be able to complete this qualification?
Yeah, we absolutely get people from all walks of life and all industries coming to do the course. There aren't any minimum education requirements, but you do need to be able to read and write to a fairly basic sort of level. You need to have some basic IT skills as well to be able to navigate our electronic documents.
So what are the different ways that a person can actually do the qualification with us?
Yeah, there are two different options. Learners can either enrol self-paced, where we send them all of the resources and they complete the activities in their own pace across the 12-month enrolment period, or they can enrol in one of our blended courses where they get to spend 5 days with a trainer to lead them through some of those areas, and then they go away and finish the rest of the activities post-course.
Now, I know over the years you've trained and assessed thousands of people in this qualification, yes, and of course its predecessor. When you look back at those that have struggled doing self-paced learning,
yep,
who do you think should actually do self-paced versus attending a trainer-led course?
Someone that's got a fair bit of previous experience in work health and safety, a self-motivated person that has those IT skills to be able to undertake the research in their own time frame and complete those items on their own.
And if somebody is doing this and needs help, how do they get help if they're doing a self-paced learning qualification?
So they can call us on the 1300 721 503 number during office hours and get support from a trainer. They can send us emails through to our Assess email queue, or they can go online to our learner discussion forums.
So the discussion forum for work health and safety, how do I get to it and what is on it?
When you enrol with us, we send you a username and password to that site. When you log into it, you'll find that a lot of people may have asked questions around the areas that you're looking at previously, so you can review those previous responses on the forums, or if that question isn't there, you can pose the question to one of our trainers and we'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours.
So what advantage would somebody have if they attended a trainer-led class versus a self-paced class?
We find the people that are undertaking that trainer-led course will get through the course in a quicker time frame than someone taking it on fully self-paced. There are two workbooks in the qualification. There's a theory workbook and a practical workbook, and the trainer will lead people on that trainer-led course through the practical workbook. And people that keep pace with the material and the work that's provided should find that they'll have the majority of that workbook 2 done within the 5-day course, which leaves them with any small gaps in the workbook 2, plus the theory questions to do post-course.
And a question we receive is, can I attend this course by virtual classroom? And if so, how does that work?
Yeah, so the virtual classroom is very similar to our face-to-face training. We use Microsoft Teams, and people log into the course via Microsoft Teams and have face-to-face access to the trainer via Microsoft Teams. The trainer will share the screen with the learners, and going through the course while they're completing the activities, they'll be able to see and use the model examples that we use throughout the course. They can also interact with the other learners and the trainer via chat and through using their microphone.
Now, I know the course goes for 5 days, so how does it flow? What will I do in those 5 days?
Yeah, a lot of the beginning of the day of each of the day is around the theory side of each of the units of competency that they're undertaking. And then the trainer will take the learners through examples of the activities that they're completing and give them support and assistance while they're completing those activities.
So when my work is assessed, let's assume that some of it is not going to be satisfactory. Do they just send me back something that says it's not right, or do I get any advice or assistance as to what it is I've done wrong and where I should go?
Sure, so you get 3 attempts at each of the workbooks that you send through to our assess email queue, and the trainer will provide some guidance and feedback on any areas that are found not satisfactory and give you that opportunity to correct any areas that are incorrect.
So looking at my need for using a computer, what do I need to be able to do on a computer to be able to do this course virtually and or physically in the class?
Yep. All right, so if you're undertaking the course face-to-face, you do need some basic IT skills. How to navigate a desktop, how to move files around, using basic word processing software, and searching the internet. If you're doing it virtually, you need to add some capacity to be able to use video conferencing software. We use Microsoft Teams, which is very similar to online programs like Zoom that people may be very familiar with through the COVID lockdown. But beyond that, that's about all you need to do.
So if a learner wants to attend virtually, but they're worried or concerned about their IT skill level, what could they possibly do about that?
I'd highly recommend doing a simple Google search online to start with, and put in a search term such as Microsoft Office online tutorials. You'll find there are hundreds of different opportunities and programs, including from Microsoft itself, on how to use their software, and a lot of video-led support.
And do I have to pay for those?
No, most of them are completely free. There are some paid options out there, but if you do a search and include the term free, you'll find that there are hundreds of resources, including some really good videos on YouTube.
Now, I know that we offer both the Certificate 4 and a Diploma in Work Health and Safety. How would a person know whether they should be doing the Certificate 4 or the Diploma?
Yeah. So the Cert 4 is very much structured around using existing WHS tools in the workplace and understanding how they tie back to the legislative requirements. As we move further up into the qualifications, into the Diploma, it's more targeted at someone who's setting policies, setting procedures and creating those things from scratch. But note that the diploma does have a requirement that you have at least the core units from the Cert 4 to enter into that qualification.
All right, and I know as HBA we have a package for anybody who wants to do the diploma and the core units. Neil, I want to thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to many years of successful WHS activity going forward.
Thanks, Harold.